in the area of artificial intelligence. As you know, artificial intelligence is a central technology topic, not only within Europe, but within the world. And it is centrally important that we drive together not only the technological challenges, but also the societal and economic challenges that artificial intelligence is bringing. And obviously, NRW plays a very central role within Europe and in the world because of this. Incidentally, it turns out, and many of you probably are aware of this, NRW is the 7th largest European economy, an economy with a gross interior product that is just behind the Netherlands. Incidentally, North Rhine-Westphalia is the place where the most startups are being founded in Germany, the federal state with the largest number of startups. And it also is, incidentally, the place where a large percentage of German and European publications and excellence on artificial intelligence is being produced. So the ecosystems that we have in North Rhine-Westphalia are certainly top-notch and able to produce results that can shape the future of artificial intelligence in Europe and beyond. And this is what we're about to do here today in this brief webinar. So a few technical things perhaps for you. We are being transmitted in parallel on several channels, among others on the YouTube channel of the representation of North Rhine-Westphalia. We'll have a mix of live and pre-recorded content. So all of the renowned speakers that we have on the program today are here with us, even though some of the messages will be pre-recorded actually. You can post questions into the chat. We have a dense program, unfortunately, so we'll have to see how much time there is. This will depend on everybody's discipline here for answering questions, but please join us in the chat. Ask these questions because all of our experts, all of the renowned speakers today have said that they will attend to these questions, and if we can't discuss them live here in the webinar today, we will be discussing them afterwards and get to that. And of course, if you're interested, there is further answers that we have for you in a brochure. Here's that interesting brochure. You certainly want to be looking at that from NRW. It is available on our websites, so please be sure to follow up on what we're discussing here today by looking at that brochure. But without much further ado, I'm very happy to start the program here today with a welcome keynote by Isabel Pfeiffer-Pönsken. Isabel Pfeiffer-Pönsken, as you know, is our North Rhine-Westphalian Minister for Culture and Science. She's been doing that since 2017. And let me just say that in 2018, she was elected Science Minister of the Year in Germany, and that just reflects the qualities that she has in joining together all the different factors that are important when you're doing good science, namely excellence in research, but also societal relevance. And Minister Pfeiffer-Pönsken, I would be very happy if you would introduce the meeting today with your brief keynote.
Mr. Badiquet, Professor Morik, Professor Hammer, Professor Holz, Professor Wrobel, ladies and gentlemen. The corona pandemic has clearly highlighted the importance of digitization for all areas of life, while at the same time significantly accelerating it. The digital transformation is a central topic of our time and is omnipresent in political discussions. In North Rhine-Westphalia, the state government sees it as a central task to help shape the digital transformation in a forward-looking and responsible manner. For this reason, North Rhine-Westphalia has adopted its own digital strategy in 2019, which represents key points of the digital change. Artificial intelligence is of particular importance in this context as a great opportunity of the ongoing digitalization and one of the grand challenges of our time. AI is characterized by a wealth of heterogeneous technologies and developments. The state government is not only looking at technological developments, but also at the social and ethical dimensions of social change. In close cooperation with the federal government and the European Union, North Rhine-Westphalia is committed to people-centered AI because we share the objectives of the European Commission's, which, with its white paper on artificial intelligence, has initiated a European strategy for excellence and trust in AI. The North Rhine-Westphalia government has launched its own AI initiative, which specifically promotes research, transfer, and sustainable implementation of trustworthy AI. In an integrated approach, AI made in NRW rests on the three pillars: excellence in research and education, success in business, and ethics in implementation. With its competence in the research and application field of AI, from outstanding basic research to creative startups, North Rhine-Westphalia has the best conditions to help shape the development of trustworthy AI in Europe. As one of Europe's leading sites, North Rhine-Westphalia has excellent expertise in the areas of cybersecurity, logistics, cognitive interaction, and medicine that are closely linked to AI. Digitalization policy is to a large extent research policy. Science can make a crucial contribution to shaping the digital transformation. Many issues have far-reaching implications and can only be answered by across disciplines. To further strengthen cooperation and transfer in North Rhine-Westphalia, we have launched the Competence platform AI NRW. Some highlights from North Rhine-Westphalian science will be presented to you today during this event. I would like to single out one in particular. At the Center of Advanced Internet Studies, ethical and legal aspects of artificial intelligence are examined in an interdisciplinary and holistic manner. I'm particularly pleased that with the inclusion in the state government's draft of the upcoming budget, we have managed to sustainably continue the work of this center by establishing the NRW Institute for Digitization Research. My sincere thanks go to Mr. Badike as the representative of the Commission and the scientists for their contributions, as well as to the organizers of the event, who were faced with special challenges due to the current circumstances. I wish you all exciting and stimulating presentations.
Thank you very much, Minister Pfeiffer-Pönsken. It is very encouraging to hear how far North Rhine-Westphalia has already progressed in joining the different perspectives that AI needs to embody. And it's also great to hear, of course, that there is a strong focus on a European perspective in Düsseldorf. Thank you very much. I am glad that then in the program, we can move on to just that European perspective. And we have a person here on board who couldn't be better qualified to comment on the European perspective on artificial intelligence. Dr. Eric Badike is the advisor for artificial intelligence to DG Connect in the area of communication networks and content and technology, which is the Commission department, which is, as we could say, the center and the anchor of many of the things, most of the things that happen in artificial intelligence. He's got a long history of experience at the intersection of science, technology, politics, and economy. And I think we can very much look forward to what he has to share about the European perspective. Welcome, Eric, to the call, and we'd love to hear what you have to tell us.
Well, Professor Wrobel, thank you very, very much for this introduction. I will share my screen now, hoping this will work. I think. Okay, can you all see this? These slides, yes, okay. So thank you very much, and also thank you, Minister, for your talk and your introduction and the kind words. This is an honor for me to be here and to speak on behalf of the Commission. I'm also accompanied by my colleague Irina Orsic, who is here, who is a key member also of the AI regulation team. I don't have very much time, so I will give you what I can at this stage in terms of the European strategy in AI. As you know, we are in the middle of a big preparation, as was announced by our president, von der Leyen, who announced that we would come with some elements or with a framework to regulate some aspects of AI. So we are working very intensively on this, and I will come to this at the end, but we are planning to come up with some proposals at the beginning of next year. So as we know, AI, I mean, I'm not going to go too much into detail. I know everybody here on this in this event is probably very much aware of what AI is bringing us. A lot of opportunities. I think it's also seen from our perspective. It's very exciting to talk to all these companies and all these research centers who really show us that there is something bubbling with AI, that there is a new energy there. So a lot of promises for consumers, for businesses, for the public interest to solve the big problems we have at the moment, or we have in the world and in Europe. But we also know that AI creates some risks, and of course, I don't know if my screen is blocked by this thing here. Can you see the slides well? Can somebody confirm that?
Eric, I'm seeing them perfectly well.
Okay, fine. So we also know that there are some important risks that come from the use of AI for safety, of course, new systems that will act independently, that will take decisions that could harm consumers and users, but also for fundamental rights. And this is a difficult topic, of course, because it is extremely complex, and it is also very broad. So we have, in terms of our strategy, we launched what we call our AI strategy 2 years ago, with also the bringing together of a high-level group, which I think has done an amazing job. That was recognized around the world. That has been at the source of some guidelines that were published, some tools that are now online. And this has been really an inspiration and basically the foundation for what we are doing today. So we had what we call a white paper published in February, together with the European Strategy for Data. And within the white paper, we have two pillars. One is, of course, excellence, and the other one is trust. I think this reflects perfectly also what the minister said, that this reflects the NRW strategy of being excellent, making sure that we are competitive and successful in business, and making sure that we respect our values and that AI is trustworthy. So completely in line with your strategy, I would say. The first pillar, of course, excellence. I'm not going to go into great details there, but we have a lot of different tools. Irina here who is also on the call, is responsible for what we call the coordinated plan with member states. So we meet with them 2 or 3 times a year. We have a lot of, I think, 70 different actions where we align strategies, we align financing, we discuss implementations. and many other things. We have, of course, through our program, support of two excellence and testing centers. So there are two programs now being that are in the pipeline, as you probably know. Horizon Europe, which will be the following the Horizon 2020 and will start the beginning of next year, and a new program called Digital Europe, where we will support these testing centers, will support data spaces, etc. So a lot of money hopefully flowing there. The discussion on the budget is not easy, as you probably know, but we are trying to to make sure that this area will get the funding that it deserves. Maybe not as much as we had hoped at the beginning, but it will still be quite significant, and will hopefully play a role in pulling also some funding from member states and from industry. And then we have other activities in terms of digital innovation hubs, in terms of financing for SMEs. We are planning a new public partnership that will bring together data, robotics and AI, and we're also looking at adopting AI by the public sector. So, and the second leg of the proposal or the strategy is, of course, what we call an ecosystem of trust. So towards a framework to regulate or to put a framework around, in particular, high-risk AI systems. There we are looking at requirements that would apply to systems that are important, for example, in terms of safety risks, in terms of impact on society, in terms of law enforcement, relation between government and people. I mean, health, transport, all these areas where you could have systems that could bring some significantly higher risks. And for those, we would have requirements in terms of training data, in terms of record keeping, transparency, robustness, human oversight. This is not easy, as we all know. I mean, a lot of these things are still very much, if you talk about explainability, about transparency, they might be research topics still. So it's not trivial to find metrics and benchmarks to put into a regulation. But we are working very hard with of course, all the experts that we're talking to. The standard bodies are working hard also on some of these things. So we hope that we can have some kind of basis for standards by the time this regulation would come into force. We are focusing on high-risk systems. We may have also consider areas where we would forbid systems because they just go too far. That's not impossible, but we expect that a large part of the systems will fall into a category where there will be no obligations or very little obligations, maybe just in terms of information that this is an AI system. We're also looking at a voluntary labeling scheme that could be complementary to harder requirements. So the vision, and here I would like to quote our president, is a human-centric AI vision. But I think this was very clear from the beginning, and has been the mantra also for the high-level group work. I don't have very much time, and I don't want to monopolize the discussion. So just a few slides that I'll go through very quickly to show you at this stage what we received in terms of feedback to our consultation. More than 1,200 contributions, very, very rich, not only from the EU, also from countries around the world, India, China, Japan, US, of course. And here we have some stats on who answered, but I think business and industry is of course very well represented. We have a very good feeling of what citizens think, civil society also very significant, and of course academia. There is a support, we believe, based on the result of this consultation. We believe that there is a strong support for we need to have additional legislation. What we have today in terms of sectorial legislation for products, for machinery, for health systems is not enough. This is what people tell us. Only 3% say that it's fully sufficient. the main concerns are, of course, breaching fundamental rights and discrimination. But we see that in the pie chart, 32% say the current legislation may have gaps, and there is a need for new legislation, 42%. So we believe that on this basis, we have a good case to push further, and that's what we will be doing. So in terms of the risk-based approach here, it's also pretty clear that we should limit things to high-risk applications. I mean, the last thing we want to do is to impose some complex rules to everybody and to limit innovation. That's really not the intention. So limiting to, in some way, limiting to high-risk application is fundamental, and that's what is reflected also in these statistics, in these results, with 42% saying that it should be limited to high risk, and well, 30% say no. So it might go even higher. So we think that the case for something at least to be done on high risk application is also quite clear. And then on the enforcement, because of course, if we set some requirements, we'll need to make sure that this is enforced. So 62% support a combination of ex ante and ex post. 28% for external conformity assessment, 21% for self-assessment. So here it's quite split. So in terms of the implementation, there's still some big questions. A few elements also on biometrics, but maybe Irina later can come back if she's still there, because she's a specialist there. She's leading the team on the biometric discussion, which is a very important one. We had flagged it as something that needed more discussion, and this is actually happening. So there we have 28% saying we should ban. We have 29% saying it should be conditional. There should be some requirements. So we believe also there that out there people think biometrics identification systems are really are special and need some oversight. So, and the final one is on the labeling scheme, a possible labeling scheme. There is overall also a positive feeling about this. So the next step are simple in a way, at least on paper. We will publish a revised coordinated plan on AI at the beginning of next year, and together with that, we will have a proposal for a regulatory framework. This will, of course, then go into the machinery with the political machinery, with Parliament, with Council, etc. So this could lead to something coming in out as a regulatory framework sometime at the end of 2022, perhaps. But we are not there yet. There's still plenty of work. But we look forward to also having more discussion with people in North Rhine-Westphalia about this, as we just had a discussion with the minister and some colleagues, and I think this is a first and very important step. So thank you for your attention, and thank you for having us today.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. We can't really have a virtual applause here, otherwise we would, but I'm certainly very excited by what you said, because the results that you have presented certainly indicate that Europe is on a good path to doing things that have proven difficult elsewhere in the world. We will be technologically leading, but at the same time, we will also have the opportunity to set a standard in terms of also what Minister Pfeiffer-Pünsken has said, in terms of the orientation towards human, and this is very, very encouraging. The good news beyond that is that research can also deliver a great part of that agenda, because if people want to believe in AI, it is important that artificial intelligence and machine learning be trustworthy. And the good news is that NRW has some of the strongest research worldwide in this area. And we are very, very happy to have here one of the most prominent people in this arena, Professor Dr. Katharina Morik, who will speak about trustworthy machine learning. Katharina is extremely well qualified to do that, because she's one of the very few people who has been seen and actively researching different areas of artificial intelligence, ranging from natural language to machine learning. Despite her original research, she has also been instrumental in moving NRW and Europe forward in the business arena. One of the most important and most successful startups in Europe in terms of machine learning is RapidMiner, now a dominating platform worldwide that has come from Dortmund. She's also very active politically, coordinating the German-French relationships in artificial intelligence, and being active in various councils. So I believe we found the right person to tell us what trustworthy machine learning has to be in the year 2020 and beyond. Katharina, the floor is yours.
In a current discussion in the international community of machine learning researchers. Let me introduce first the place where I'm from. We start with the map of the Federal Republic of Germany, and there highlighted is the federal state North Rhine-Westphalia, with all the labs that work on artificial intelligence. And then we move into the federal state, and you see the universities working on artificial intelligence, and the blue dots indicate the 4 professors that work on artificial intelligence at the TU Dortmund universities, and that is actually me. Another view of Germany is the German machine learning competence centers that are combined with the centers on big data. And there you see, these are the selected competence centers combined with big data in Berlin and Dresden, Leipzig, and purely machine learning in North Rhine-Westphalia, in Baden-Württemberg, and in Bavaria. Now, let's move into the international approaches to trustworthy machine learning. A first approach is on the procedures that need to be established in companies and institutions for guiding the process of certification of machine learning applications. So that is the overall process with all the administration efforts that need to be done in order to certify a machine learning application. Standardized algorithm descriptions are put forward by IBM, they call it fact sheets, and by Google, they call it model cards, and we will see in the end my own proposal that will be called then care labels that moves a bit beyond that. There is the approach of opening the black box. Here, the PISA group is pushing that topic by having explanations for regardless which machine learning model is to be inspected. That's why it is called agnostic. Visualization of deep learning models is performed especially by the Berlin group, but also by others, of course. A workshop on explainability for trustworthy machine learning pipelines has taken place this spring at the Extended Database Theory Conference. And there has been the large event in Paris last year. That was the Global Forum on AI and Humanity. It was a conference under the auspices of the French government and addressed by President Emmanuel Macron. This gives the global picture. Now let's come to a more local one in North Rhine-Westphalia in the Competence Center Machine Learning Rhein-Ruhr, ML2R for short. And here, this center has the main topics of modular machine learning, the principle of compositionality, training overall learning processes that combine several layers, human-oriented machine learning, inspectable, understandable, user-friendly, and fair machine learning, Machine learning using complex knowledge, integrating data-driven and knowledge-based processes. And machine learning and restricted resources, scalable learning methods, and novel hardware architectures, even quantum computing, by the way, with guarantees. So these are the topics of the competence centers, and we will see that all these topics are contributing to trustworthy machine learning. Modular machine learning, the principle of compositionality, focuses not on just a single learning algorithm alone, but on the overall pipeline that needs to be studied in order to make machine learning trustworthy. Human-oriented machine learning contributes because the learning processes must prepare for human inspection of the learned models. Machine learning using complex knowledge focuses on the interaction of scientific knowledge that helps to exclude erroneous generalization, and also machine learning that helps to enhance scientific knowledge. Machine learning and restricted resources is a topic that focuses, again, not on a single algorithm, but its implementation on a particular computing architecture and all the libraries that are used to implement it. And all this needs to be verified. Hence, all machine learning topics contribute to making machine learning trustworthy. Let's illustrate each of the points by a short example. Here, compositionality. Machine learning pipelines cover the overall process from data acquisition, data formatting, data inspection, clearing, transformation, training a model, validating it, and deploying it. Each step, machine learning may be applied for optimization. Feature extraction is used, and the selection is using machine learning algorithms. Also, discretization can be optimized by machine learning. We have the issue of representation learning. Active learning selects instances and so on. Deep learning covers the overall process by many layers and optimizes thousands of parameters. So we need to introduce blocks of layers and design them such that experts can gain more insight into the deep learning model. The composition is not yet fully understood. I must admit there is a research challenge. Model deployment or inference is optimized for particular hardware, real-time processing. Again, this is machine learning. So also the deployment is not just executing a given model, but adapting the particular learned model to the particular application scenario. And also this demands theoretical investigation. So if every step is well investigated with error bounds and explicit uncertainties, the question is the overall pipeline well understood as well? Human inspection of learned models. So one issue is outlier detection. Outliers may indicate areas where the model is wrong or indicate areas in the data that relate to interesting events. Data summary by submodular functions offers the expert a view of the big data. And we have made case studies with experts in astrophysics in an interdisciplinary collaboration to check whether experts really can use that. What can be easily illustrated is the approach by the Berlin group, where, because it is about image processing and image classification, the training set of horses to be classified had the name of the photographer in the lower left corner, and had some learning algorithm only looked in the lower left corner whether there is something, and then decided that there must be a horse in the picture. This is, of course, wrong, and the visualization of the model clearly indicates it, that this other model is superior because it at least focuses on the horse and the rider. Data-driven and knowledge-based modeling. Here we focus on simulations. because they encode the human knowledge in many application areas. We have case studies in astrophysics, in producing tunnels, and in machining. Machine learning indicates interesting regions to be simulated. This is active learning. And on the other hand, simulations offer labeled data for machine learning. So simulation and machine learning help each other. Bounds of possible events restrict the search space of machine learning. Another very different approach is to have experts design the graph structure, and then machine learning gives the probabilities of all the nodes in this graph structure by probabilistic graphical models. The case study here is to apply spatial temporal random fields invented by Nico Piatkowski for traffic prediction in Dublin. You see at the left, the city of Dublin with the traffic measurements by embedded systems. And then you see the abstracted graph, and here the expert could easily determine that this line is across the bay and cannot be true, it cannot be a road. So this is easy inspection by the expert. And then machine learning learns the particular probabilities of traffic states at each of the points in this graph. Machine learning under resource constraints. So the Internet of Things gives us a huge amount of data. Sensors create streams of data. Modern mobility depends on data from the environment, the vehicles, the demands of users. And logistics campus at TU Dortmund University offers test suite for real-time applications of learned models. Embedded computing should use as less energy as possible, which becomes clear by these applications, I guess. So we have to design novel methods, for instance, like the spatial temporal random fields, that allow machine learning even on ultra low power devices. That has been achieved by integer Markov random fields. And it has been achieved not only by heuristics, but by methods with accuracy guarantees. And then also the deployment state, first inference compiles deep learning models to various hardware architectures in a particular application. So the learned model, what even a deep learning model, is tailored to the particular application and the resource constraints there, using, for instance, field programmable gate arrays. My personal view of trustworthy machine learning I'm promoting here is machine learning research combines statistics, algorithms, and software engineering in order to state clearly what can be expected from a learning result, what are the known pitfalls, and what are the needed computing resources. And as I promised, I want to introduce my favorite idea, that of care labels that link model properties and computing facilities, in analogy to care labels of washing and drying machines and textiles. These labels express the level of resource consumption, energy, memory, communication bandwidth, and the level of approximation, the quality and uncertainty for a method in a particular implementation on a certain computing architecture. So that moves beyond the simple text description of the fact sheets or model cards. They need to come along with test procedures that allow to verify the label. We are working on it.
Thank you so much, Katharina. It is great to hear that you are working on it, because what we could clearly see in your talk is that not only research at Technical University of Dortmund and in NRW, but also European research as a whole is working hard on delivering exactly the things that people have been asked for in all the consultations that Eric has been mentioning. So this is very, very good news, and it is encouraging us that Europe can actually achieve these goals. Of course, it's not only the ML algorithms that need to be trustworthy, but artificial intelligence as a whole needs to be integrated in an environment that is trustworthy, because it is also secure. So we've chosen for our program today to also focus on the issue that are brought about by IT security in artificial intelligence. Can machine learning help make IT more secure is one of the questions, but the other question is, of course, how can we make the environment of artificial intelligence so secure that all the guarantees that Katharina has been speaking about can actually be delivered to the customer and create trusted and reliable AI. I'm very happy that we have among us today one of the most qualified people to speak about this, and Professor Thorsten Holz. He's a professor at the Faculty for Electronics and Information Technology at die Ruhr-Universität Bochum. And he has been working exactly on these topics for quite a number of times, for quite a number of years now. He's highly decorated. He's won the Leibniz Prize, one of Germany's most prestigious science prizes. He also has a very strong European orientation, winner of an ERC starting grants. He's leading an excellence cluster on cybersecurity in these modern times of large-scale attacks. So Thorsten, certainly you're very, very qualified to explain everyone in the call what is happening at the intersection of AI and computer security. We're very much looking forward to that.
Welcome to my talk on IT security and machine learning. My name is Thorsten Holz and I'm a professor at Ruhr-Universität Bochum. I'm one of the co-spokespersons of the Cluster of Excellence CASA, Cybersecurity in the Age of Large-Scale Adversary. I'm a computer scientist and my background is in computer security. In the next few minutes, I want to provide an overview of the different challenges, how IT security and machine learning work together, what are the problems, and how North Rhine-Westphalia can help to address these problems. Our research is motivated by the insight that the number of attacks and their severity is increasing over time. I want to provide 3 examples. First, we've seen different kinds of attacks against governments. For example, the German Bundestag was compromised a few times and sensitive documents were stolen. Furthermore, we see disinformation campaigns where fake news or fake images are used to spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Second, we see also different kinds of attacks against critical infrastructures, like power plants, or Stuxnet was probably the best known example how attacks can also happen in cyberspace. Again, there were many of these attacks observed in Germany and in Europe, and we need better ways to protect our critical infrastructure against this type of attacks. The third example is ransomware, a rather easy attack where the attacker first compromises the system and then tries to encrypt the different files, and only when a ransom is paid, the decryption key is revealed. We've seen many of these type of attacks in the past few years against different kinds of businesses, against critical infrastructures, and this caused many millions, probably billions euros of loss. Besides all of these attacks that are illustrated in the pictures, we also see many problems related to the privacy of citizens. So we have many types of companies that collect private information, build profiles, and we need to have better mechanisms to protect the privacy of the citizens of Europe. And this is an area where machine learning and computer security can nicely work together. So there are many examples where we can use machine learning and AI algorithms in order to detect even very advanced type of attacks. For example, for the attacks that I discussed on the previous slide, there are many different software solutions to try to detect the attacks early on, to prevent them before they actually cause some kind of damage. We work together with several antivirus companies in Bochum in order to leverage modern machine learning algorithms in order to detect even advanced malicious software. So if you install a modern antivirus engine on your device, you can be sure that some of the patterns that are used in order to attacks are built by an ML model in order to have a better mechanism to detect and prevent this type of attacks. One prime example is clustering and classification of malicious software. So for example, we built together with GData, an antivirus company from Bochum, an analysis pipeline. The company receives tens of thousands of malicious samples per day, so they need automated mechanism to analyze all these samples. What we have built with GData in the past years is an automated analysis pipeline. So we start with a given sample, an automated analysis is performed where we observe the behavior during runtime, and then we perform a clustering to identify samples that behave in the same way. And then we can form a cluster that typically has hundreds of samples that behave the same way. So an analyst only needs to pick one representative sample from the cluster and doesn't need to analyze all samples manually. Whenever you authenticate against a service, for example, you log in to your email account or to another web service, in the back end, a risk-based authentication is performed. So the companies have some kind of risk score in order to evaluate whether the current login is likely you or whether it's a malicious person that tries to compromise your account. With modern web service, whenever you authenticate, a huge ML pipeline is used in the back end to detect whether the login is authentic or not. On the last slide, I already talked about misinformation campaigns. And fake news, deepfake images are a crucial component. We've seen this type of interference during the last US election, and likely there are also some misinformation campaigns happening at the moment. And next week, we have the election in the US. And afterwards, we'll probably also, again, see some reports of what kind of interference based on misinformation happened. So it's crucial to detect fake news early on and develop better mechanisms to detect deepfake images. We can also use machine learning in other contexts, for example, program analysis to find vulnerabilities, side channel analysis, and there are many other application domains. So as I just illustrated, there's a close intertwining between machine learning on the one hand and computer security on the other hand. In North Rhine-Westphalia, we have the unique expertise that on the one hand, we have excellent researchers in the area of computer security. We host a cluster of excellence with hundreds of people working in this area and many companies developing security products. And on the other hand, we also have world-class researchers working on machine learning. And by combining these two areas, we are in a unique position to build more robust models. Because this is actually one of the main challenges we need to address in the future. It turns out that machine learning predictions are rather brittle. Here you see as an example an image, and as a human, you can easily recognize what's shown in the picture. For a machine learning model, it's not as easy. We first need to train the model with hundreds of gigabytes of images, and then eventually the model is able to recognize what is shown in the picture. In this case, the ML predictor would say, okay, this is a pig with a confidence of 91%. But what we can now do, or what an adversary can do, he can add some malicious noise to the picture. This is not natural noise that's caused by something like a camera or something else, but this is carefully calculated in order to mislead the machine learning model. And here you see an illustration how this artificial noise looks like. And if we combine the picture with this noise, we get another picture. Can you spot any difference? As a human, we do not see any difference. But the machine learning model, because it's recognizing all the information in the picture, is somehow misled. So we trick the ML model into recognizing something completely different. And in this case, the ML model would output that this is an airliner with a confidence of 99%. We've created a so-called adversarial example. So an example that is used in order to mislead an ML model. There are also other examples in the literature, and this is probably a better illustration of what can go wrong. Here we have a stop sign with malicious patches on the stop sign, and then the camera in an autonomous car would not recognize the stop sign anymore, but misinterpret this as something completely different. Obviously, this can have fatal consequences. So overall, we see that the whole machine learning and AI pipeline is vulnerable in different steps. To illustrate this, I first need to briefly recap how a typical pipeline looks like. So first, on the top, we have training data. This is typically tens of gigabytes, maybe hundreds of gigabytes or even more. So we need lots of data in order to train a machine learning model. Then we train the algorithm, and the output is an actual model, which is the IP that the company has. And this is actually all the value. Then we have input data on the bottom left. And this input data is fed to the ML algorithm that computes based on the algorithm and the model some kind of prediction. For example, it tries to recognize an object in an image, or it tries to detect a malicious attack in network traffic. Unfortunately, there are several ways how an attacker can interfere with this whole pipeline. For example, there are so-called data poisoning attacks, where the attacker tries to modify one of the training samples, and this can already have fatal consequences. For example, we recently showed that by just using one malicious training sample, an attacker can plant a backdoor in an automated speech recognition system, such that under specific circumstances, the ML model behaves differently. And this type of backdoor is something that is very hard to detect. And currently, we do not have clever mechanisms to detect or even prevent backdoors. So this is still one of the vulnerabilities that we need to address in the future. An adversary can also try to interfere with the training process in order to, again, plant a backdoor. And this, again, a crucial attack in practice, because if we cannot rely that the ML algorithm is robust, but that by carefully modifying the training data or the training process, then we cannot guarantee the absence of a backdoor. So we need better ways in order to have transparent and explainable ML models. Finally, an attacker can perform a so-called model stealing attack. The main IP here is the model, but what the attacker can do is he can carefully craft queries against the model and then try to train a surrogate model in order to replicate the model without this huge overhead of learning and all the training data. By just carefully preparing questions against the models, he can iteratively query the model and then train his surrogate model that then eventually obtains a rather similar precision and recall as the original model. And again, we need better ways in order to prevent these model stealing attacks, in order to detect that something is actually going wrong or that a model was stolen. So in summary, we see that machine learning and computer security are one of the hot topics at the moment. North Rhine-Westphalia is in a unique position with strong researchers on both areas. And by combining the strength in both areas, we can provide unique insights and develop robust and secure machine models in the future. This is one of the main challenges ahead. So we need better ways to increase the confidence that we have in our ML and AI systems. Another challenge is that we need to have better explainability and transparency, such that a human can also understand why and how a specific decision of an ML algorithm was reached. One of the building blocks of robust ML systems is that we need a theory-driven basis for defenses, such that we can better understand why are our algorithms vulnerable to adversarial samples, how can we detect deepfake images in a robust way, and we need the theory. And this is, I think, one of the unique challenges we need to solve in the near future. And the general insight is that we need also a better generic understanding of attacks, and especially their impact on learning. So how can an attacker interfere with the ML process? What are potential attacks? And how can we build defenses such that we can guarantee that our ML model is robust? With this, I would like to conclude.
Thank you very much, Torsten, for an exciting talk, and thank you for highlighting the importance of security when we're thinking about AI. And all of this is becoming more important as AI becomes more pervasive. Many of us are still thinking that AI is something for the back offices or behind the scenes making decisions that don't directly affect us. But when we look, for example, at the proliferation of natural language assistants that many people quite happily place into their homes, we know that the interaction of AI with people is becoming more and more prominent. A very recent 2020 study has shown that already now in Europe, almost 50% of people are saying they have AI-based interactions with machines on a daily basis, which is a mind-boggling figure, and that shows that the cooperation and the collaboration between machines and artificial intelligence is getting more and more important every day. Thankfully, at NRW, research is on its way to examine how cooperative intelligence can be created. And we have with us Professor Dr. Barbara Hammer from University of Bielefeld, who is extremely well qualified to speak about this topic because she is a member of the SciTech Center of Excellence at Bielefeld University, where the focus for a long time now has been on exactly this issue. Barbara is a very, very well positioned machine learning researcher. She's the member of the editorial board of Neurocomputing, one of the most prestigious journals in the field, and has either organized or been on the committees of all the important meetings in the field. So she knows both the hardcore stuff of machine learning, as well as the perspective to how machine learning can cooperate with each other and with humans. So we're very much looking forward to Barbara's presentation on this topic. Thank you very much for being with us here today, Barbara.
I am very happy to talk about cooperative intelligence. I am Barbara Hammer from Bielefeld University. Bielefeld lies in the northeast of North Rhine-Westphalia, another city around being Paderborn with its university. And this region is a strong hub in AI, in particular as concerns cognitive interaction, collaborative robotics, and intelligent systems. This way, contributing to AI expertise spread all over North Rhine-Westphalia. These current AI systems are trustworthy in the sense that there do exist strong mathematical guarantees for classical systems, assuming assumptions are met. For example, there do exist guarantees that if training data for a machine learning system are representative for the data the system is going to use for, then the error of the system can be bounded with high probability. And you see here 4 possible mathematical ways to phrase this issue. The problem is that in practice, these AI systems deal with real people, real sensors, real environment, and real problems. And these often violate the assumptions underlying the mathematical models, meaning that in practice we have failures and not trustworthy AI, such as image recognition being wrong, a fox squirrel being mistaken as a sea lion, merging of images being wrong with a human being mistaken as a background tree, or robots which lose their job quickly because they are just not trustworthy to work in a hotel and just make too many errors. So if human and machine and humans being in an open and changing environment should cooperate in a good way, we still have some challenges lying ahead. What I want to do is I would like to have a glimpse at 3 challenges and 3 first examples for partial solutions we have developed in the last years. First one is from the domain of robust intelligent control, where challenges are to devise sensors up to device and control systems. I want to go into the challenge to devise a control for a artificial limb, arm prosthesis, a hand prosthesis. And you see here the scenario, because we want to do the development also with healthy volunteers. We just take the sensors of this artificial hand, which is here this electromyographic cuff around the wrist. And this can be used to control, and in this case, it's not a hand, but a computer game. But we could transfer this to not the hand in the game, but to the artificial hand. So the basic scenario is we have a cuff where sensors take signals from muscle activity. This is put into an AI system, a neural network in this case, and this predicts what the hand should do, so whether it should close, open, or do some other activity. The problem is that this is possible, but it's not very robust per se, because if you have is just a small misplacement of the sensors of a few millimeters, which actually happens if you put on and off your hand from one day to the next, then the system is no longer going to work, because the sensors, the sensor signals look entirely different as compared to the previous one. And so what we did is we developed, with the help of specific domain expertise and with the help of a technology called transfer learning, a very easy on-the-fly recalibration method where you can, given that the sensors are misplaced, recalibrate the hand in a very short time of like 2 minutes, such that this works, which is also shown in experiments. So this is an example for artificial intelligence having the problem that we deal with what we call the changing environment, where, for example, sensor signals change, or it could also be that objectives change and so on. And the classical AI is always optimized and tested for a specific system, specific data, and specific objectives, such that the behavior of the system is not clear if these specific situations change. So what we need to do is we need efficient and reliable technologies for model updates, plug and play mechanisms to put these models into new settings with different and not these specific requirements. And we need reliable AI, which allows us to deal with a changing environment. Let me go to a second application domain, which is process optimization and planning. And here we conducted quite a number of projects together with companies, in particular in the frame of a big technology network called ITSOVL, which stands for Intelligent Technical Systems Ostwestfalia-Lippe. And this ranges from copper bounding up to DAF-Rigging. I would like to focus on this lower one, which is surface coating with either anodization or powder coating of metal parts, for example, to make windows. So the basic process is that this company gets an order, then parts from metal are delivered like that. These have to be put onto racks. The racks go through a very demanding and long process such that the surface treatment is taking place. Once the parts are ready, they are delivered. And what we did is we investigated whether this process could be optimized with the help of artificial intelligence, which basically constituted in 3 parts: a digitation of the parts such that we can compute with those parts and the important characteristics of those. Then we devised an AI-based optimization of how to put the parts into the process, which led to an improvement of, in representative cases, more than 10% of the time used for doing these jobs. However, the important point for the company was not that AI could improve the process, rather we could provide, on the one hand, a shortcut of the process which allowed the company to predict, based on only few features of a in order, how long this process would likely take, such that the overall scheduling could be improved and the planning could be improved. In addition, we provided an explanation of this AI-based optimization strategy, which could be explained to people, such that the putting the pieces on the racks could be done directly by humans, imitating the AI strategy. So we provided an explanation which was understandable for persons. And that's a very nice example for the fact that if we have an AI, we also need an explanation of AI as an interface for the AI to the other parts of the system, as well as in particular to the human. And current explanations of AI models often don't take into account the specific situation, such as to whom do I explain it? They are not interactive, and they don't take into account the prior knowledge of the person. So what we need is rich explanations which are able to integrate this AI and this knowledge into the particular process according to the particular needs of the surrounding and the people. Let me go for a third example, which is again in a collaboration with a major international company in this case. And the task is from the domain of cognitive interaction technologies. So what we want to do is we would like to have, when a machine is adaptive and a human is cooperating with machine, we would like to have a human readability of how the machine learns from its environment. And the challenge is here, on the one hand, to represent the environment in a common space, such that if a robot and a machine meet, they know that they are talking about the same room. They have just visited about the same devices, the same setting. In addition, we need to have insight into how a human perceives the robot and perceives the learning process of the robot. And we need to represent in the robot, in the machine, the human and his or her perception of the machine, such that what we investigated, we can set up the learning process and its explanation in such a way that the human can easily, as a layperson, teach the machine and arrive at the adaptation the human would like to have. So this is an example for cognitive compatibility by design, by using machine learning methods and adaptation methods and its representation, which are more suitable to be understood by a human in a natural way via dialogues, gestures, and demonstration, such that we can have a guarantee of human autonomy, so the human is able to understand and impact the robot. We have an intuitive interaction, and we have an intuitive, in particular, failure recovery, such as the robot learns the right things. And for that, we are working towards a readability of the machine learning, such that intuitive teaching of machines becomes possible also by layperson not knowing the technical details of the machines. So this have been three challenges from the domain of human-machine collaboration. So we have to deal with changing environments, we have to provide rich explanations, and we have to ensure human and machine compatibility, such that we have readability of the adaptation of machines. Together with, as we already heard in previous talks, technologies to have safety, privacy, and fairness, energy efficiency, and reliability and testing of reliability, we are on a very good way towards a trustworthy AI.
Thank you very much, Barbara Hammer. Your talk painted an exciting picture of what is coming in the future and made very clear that with research from NRW, We're about to totally change the perception of what we think as cooperation between humans and machines. It's not going to be asking Alexa about how the weather is going to be tomorrow, but it's actually going to be a world where machines behave in a way that we can understand and where we can actually teach machines, which actually makes all the questions in the preceding talk all the more important. So thank you very much for this impulse. We had, I think, a number of great presentations here with us, and very luckily, everyone was quite on time. So we have quite a few minutes now to be discussing with each other. So I would like to encourage our viewers out there in the webinar to submit their questions into our chat so we can take them into account. But while you're reflecting what you might want to be asking our expert discussants here, I'd like to point out that in our auditorium, in the call today, we have scientists, we have people from society, but we also have a lot of people who I would judge to be policymakers for Europe. So you have made very clear that there's one conclusion from all your presentation, which is science, and NRW science in particular, already has a lot of answers to AI challenges. But you've also made it very, very clear that it would be very wise at the European scale to keep investing into AI research, to further strengthen research and to make sure we have that know-how. But I'm sure beyond this general summary of what you've said, you have particular points that you would like to perhaps let our policymakers know that they could take into account when they're dealing with AI. And maybe, Katharina, if we start in the order of presentations here, you're coordinating anyway the French-German activities in the area of artificial intelligence. And I think there have been a lot of political insights in that context already. So perhaps you could comment on these.
Yeah, truly, I think the European concern is to always turn the regularization according to our values into a particular business benefit. So I think that is where we all in Europe agree. In particular, Emmanuel Macron at the Global Forum on AI and Humanity made this point very, very clear, that the European style of AI is to make competitive because of our values. So it is not that regularization is reducing the power of AI, but we believe together that it is actually enhancing the power, it is supporting the power of AI, because people, if they have the choice, then we believe that they will prefer a data privacy preserving approach and a reliable approach and a trustworthy approach and an interactive, like Barbara has pointed out, and secure, like Torsten has pointed out, approach to any other. It is just if we do not develop our methods and put them into products that the user doesn't have the choice which one to choose, and then this, of course, is not our benefit. So actually, I think that all European partners agree on supporting this particular European path of trustworthiness.
I think a very, very central point that certainly will be heard well with policymakers, as we've seen from what Eric has reported. Torsten, in your presentation, I was thinking research has done so much to offer politics the necessary tools to make things more secure. Probably you're teaching public key cryptography in the first semester. It's been around, well, should I say for decades? No, not really, but it's been around long enough that we could have safe email by now and all these things. So it's not happening. Isn't the same thing going to be repeating in AI? Is there anything policymakers could do to help you security guys to get your results into practice faster?
Thanks a lot for this very interesting question. So I think from the policy side, we can actually get lots of support. I'm just thinking about certification of AI systems, such that we get some regulations in place that help us to have some clear rules
what do we expect from the AI system? How can we measure the trustworthiness? What kind of tests need to be performed? What kind of certifications do we need? And I think here Europe can actually have a leading role worldwide if we set the standards such that we can actually build the rules that hopefully also others will follow. And especially from the European Union, some kind of central policy or some central regulations would help, because I think this is crucial. If we continue to develop the AI systems as we do now, they can easily be attacked. So even our master students can actually generate adversarial examples that mislead either image systems, audio systems. So we actually have courses in order to teach the students how to break those kind of systems. And before we use them in practice, we hence need better ways to increase their trustworthiness. And I think here, Europe can actually play a leading role.
So there's certainly something to be done for policymakers, but also looking in the direction of Barbara Hammer. When AI systems are changing to cooperate with humans, new issues arise for policymakers. I've recently looked at very exciting research where people are using MRT scan data, brain activity data, to learn what kind of artificial avatars people will find realistic, which means that cognitively, we're going to be exploiting patterns in the human brain in a way to trick people to believe something artificial is real. We also have questions from the audience in this direction from you. One question, for example, is that shouldn't then there be more support for looking at the potential contributions from the behavioral sciences, neuroscience, psychology, human factors, sociology? Could you perhaps elaborate on the potentials that there is in these kinds of collaborations? That would be most interesting to our audience.
Thank you very much. So actually, we work in an interdisciplinary team. So we have psychologists on board, people from the social sciences. So one is human perception, of course. So you can, for example, deal with attention mechanisms. These are principles of how to design interactive systems. That's very clear. Then the question is, of course, like social sciences. So in one project at the moment, which is founded by the VW Foundation, we work with social scientists. So she's leading the project. We have people from ethics, from philosophy. And it's actually about how the Alexa and co influence us in our short and long-term behavior. And for that, we really need experimental work. So we need to check how people, for example, change their behavior if a system is designed in this or the other way. And this is at the root of one big open problem at the moment. So there's lots of work on explainable AI, but there are rarely any papers where this is actually evaluated in a good way, because this needs to be done understanding people, basically. That's a big issue. So, and I think there's lots of potential for interdisciplinary work. Yeah, how this behaves.
But if really then cognitive and even neurocognitive cognitive findings influence the way we design systems, Thorsten, I was intrigued by the images you gave. I never thought that airplanes and pigs had so much in common. But no, really, it brings up the question of whether this kind of research determining fake images, shouldn't that also actually be interfacing with research on human cognition then? So far, we're doing this on a technological basis. But wouldn't this kind of misinterpretation also be a cognitive issue, or is that too far off the mark?
Mm-hmm. I think there are definitely interesting research questions in that area because computers, or in general generative adversarial models or networks, are very good at the moment at generating these fake images. So they can generate images where even a human has a hard time to decide whether a computer-generated image is real or whether it shows a real photo. So there are some studies that use the state-of-the-art models. They are built by NVIDIA, where even humans can only spot about 60% of their computer-generated images as being fake. So, but here it would be interesting to get to know how people who have a better background in how the brain actually processes these images, how they can help us to build better or more trustworthy methods to detect fake images or to detect fake news, given that these kind of attacks actually pose a severe threat to our democratic processes. So misinformation campaigns can influence political discussions, can interfere with votes, with elections. So therefore, I think it's crucial to build a critical mass of people working in this area in order to build better methods to reliably detect fake information, because else I see that lots of misinformation campaigns will threat our democratic processes in the future.
So certainly an important issue. I have the pleasure of being a permanent expert to the high-level expert group on AI, where we've set up a large catalog of demands also towards politics and society to just counter exactly the issues you've been focusing on, Eric. Is that paper, are the documents of the AI high-level expert group, are they well received? Is society or companies going along with this? Or is there something totally different we need to do now in Europe to take up these points that our experts have raised?
Well, to start with your first question, I think it's very clear that the high-level group, the work of the high-level group has been very influential. So, I mean, what we propose now, the 5 requirements that we are proposing, that we are working on, are based fully on the guidelines of the high-level group. The high-level group definition and guidelines are very close to the OECD guidelines that have also been adopted at G20 level. So I think it is very, very clear. And a lot of members of the high-level group, as you know, are now very influential in G20, in the GPI, for example, the new global partnership. So no, I think we have, with what they have done, and also the latest development of the tool, this Altai tool that companies can use to check whether they have gone through all the the necessary steps for trustworthy AI. Is very, very important, and is an excellent basis that could be transformed then into something that is much more formal and solid based on a regulation. So, but let me also make a few comments about the how the 3 presentations that we had from Barbara, Katharina, and Torsten resonate, I think, very much with exactly what we are busy with in Brussels today. I think on the security aspects, very clear. We are really aware of that and of the big difficulties there. And I think Torsten maybe also, because he didn't have time, but I think there is another aspect, which is the use of AI for attacks, which is something not necessarily on attacks on AI systems, but for in general for attacks is also probably a big topic that is very difficult. On what Katharina talked about, I think yes, the care labels. I would be interested in knowing a bit more about this, because we are looking for practical ways to implement these requirements. So it would be interesting to know what are the different dimensions that are in these care labels, and do they fit our requirements, or can they help in implementing our requirements? And on the human control, on the human interface, I think what Barbara was talking about is also very, very much in resonance with our big questions on the 5th requirement, which is human control, because there we have also specialists and experts give us different views, and it's a bit difficult to sort it out. Do we need to have more human in the loop, or do we need where do we find the right balance between exploiting the capacity of AI to be to do things very smartly and very quickly, but to keep a human control? I think this is also extremely useful, and there are also new reflections on AI, supervised AI, or something like this, that I think are also probably in Barbara's work, but that are also very, very relevant. So maybe a final word also on what Katharina said later. I agree that I mean this was actually proposed by von der Leyen to say that we can have an advantage, a commercial advantage, a competitiveness advantage if we rely on trustworthy AI. And I think it's very clear we have a trust capital around the world, Europe, I mean. Look at what we've done with the GDPR. So we have been first in looking at privacy protection. I think this trust capital can also be leveraged for AI. What we need is, today made in Germany, for example, is very important. When you see that on a product, it's high quality. We need the equivalent, the European equivalent for trustworthy, because it's European. So I think we believe in this, and as I said, our president believes in this very strongly. So yes, we can play a leading role. And a very final comment on interdisciplinarity. I think we understand that as well, and we in what we are planning for the next program, Digital Europe, we have these testing facilities. I think these could be also very much cradles for interdisciplinarity, to bring people together around experimentation of AI. So I think we will also be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rick. I think that was a very, very great positioning of both the talks that we have seen and the general European position. We're almost reaching the end of this webinar, which is very sad because I can see there's plenty of questions, and it's not only you, Eric, you have asked for specific examples, but still I would like to call for our three presenters now to have their final statement. And if you can limit that to the commonplace 1 minute, what is the central message that we should remember from today's webinar with respect to NRW research on AI and what Europe needs to do in artificial intelligence? And perhaps we can go in the ordering of the talks, which will mean, Katharina, you go first.
Okay, so I cannot deliver a real final message because I think that it is an ongoing activity of European and actually of global research to make AI trustworthy. We make it trustworthy in giving it guarantees to the single algorithm, to the pipeline of algorithms, to the implementation of diverse platforms. And we combine it with human interaction through understandable and explainable AI algorithms, I say, although actually what I see in the forefront is always machine learning, because I think it's the drive behind artificial intelligence.
Thank you, Barbara. No, Torsten was second.
Torsten.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I think we are on a good path. So we see lots of exciting results in AI. So where many of the modern AI algorithms are even outperforming humans on certain tasks. Still, the easiness how these algorithms can be attacked is worrisome. So I think this European path towards trustworthy AI is, I think, something where North Rhine-Westphalia can contribute something. We have a unique position because we are probably one of the strongest centers in Europe for computer security. We have world-class people working in ML and AI. So if we combine these two areas, I think we can contribute something and help to set standards across Europe and hopefully also across the world.
Thanks a lot, Barbara.
So I think we have seen the great potentials of AI, particularly in North Rhine-Westphalia, as well as the great threats. And I think we need better understanding still of AI in the real world, because the mathematics is not there. And we need to consider AI as complete systems, including human and including more disciplines in computer science itself, like hardware, safety, software engineering, as well as interdisciplinary, which is extremely important because this is one thing which might change the world in some places, and we should we should have our European trustworthy way to deal with it.
Thank you, Barbara. And those were wonderful final statements. So all there is left to say from my side is that I hope all you listeners out there, all you viewers out there, you've learned something from these presentations scientifically, but also in terms of the politics of what AI should do. I hope you also have seen that NRW certainly is ready to deliver in the area of artificial intelligence, and that NRW is certainly inviting all of you and the rest of Europe to cooperate on these strategic challenges that we have in the area of AI. And if we join forces together in all of this, I think Eric has said this very nicely, Europe is on a strong path to be a driving force in these markets and arenas of the future. So thank you very much for listening today. Thank you to everyone in the call, and I wish you a great rest of this Thursday. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for the moderation, Stefan. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. We're waving. I don't know if we're still online with hundreds of people, but we'll just click on leave, just as everyone else does here. So bye-bye to wherever you are.